Hi everyone, and welcome back to my crochet corner at All Things Crafty. I'm Lavette, and today I am going to be making an infinity scarf to match my hat that I made. So I developed a pattern called the Alpine Hat, and I am going to develop a pattern as I go along for a matching scarf. So to show the hat, this is the stitch, the Alpine stitch that I am going to make a matching scarf for. And try to take that. So I am trying to do a matching scarf for this. And in honor of today being Halloween, the day that I'm filming this, I am going to do a different type of story time with you guys today. It is going to be a paranormal or no story time. So I'm going to tell you some true stories, and we'll see what you think, paranormal or no. And I will get started with this scarf pattern, and then we'll get right into our story time, and we'll see how it turns out. All right, see you guys soon. So here I ended up starting with a chain of 170. That was the desired length of the scarf I wanted. Okay, so as we watch this scarf get worked up, and it's 8 total rows, and as we go through the pattern, I'll show on the screen what the pattern is for every row. But we're going to get into our story time for now. And like I said earlier, because this is, Halloween season, I thought I'd do something a little different and talk about paranormal experiences. So, I'm going to share a couple of different experiences that my own daughter has. I've never had any at all, but my own daughter has. This is my oldest child. She's 23 now, so the first one was about, I'd say, 7 years ago, and it was in our last home. So, um, we were she has six. She has five other siblings. She's one of six. At the time, I think she was one of five. I hadn't had my youngest daughter yet, so it was me and the and five kids, and me and all of the other kids besides her had left to go grocery shopping. She was home alone, and you know, she was expecting us to come back fairly shortly. So she was listening out for us, and then when she heard someone come in, and she heard footsteps and moving around. She thought it was a little strange that she didn't hear any talking or any voices. So she thought, okay, usually we make it's you know me and four other kids, so we're making a lot of noise. We're carrying bags, we're bringing them in the house. I'm telling this one to get that and that one to get this. So it's usually a lot of commotion and talking. And she said all she heard was footsteps and movement and things being moved around. So when she went out to help me, and she knows I always call her down to help extra set of hands with bags. So when I didn't call her, she came out at her room on second floor, went to the edge of the steps, and then something didn't feel right. She thought, I don't hear any people talking. I don't hear, it doesn't sound like them, but it was just footsteps, and it was just things being moved around. So she thought immediately somebody else was in the house. So she tiptoes back in her room, closed the door, and so softly, and locks it. And then she goes to the window. She doesn't see my car or any other car, and so she's trying to figure out what to do. So she takes her cell phone and she walks into. She had a really big closet, and she walked into the closet, closed the door, and she called me, and I answered. She didn't tell me any of this at the time. She just said, "Where are you?" And I was saying, um, "Oh, we're on our way home. We just came from the store. We're like 2 blocks away." So she felt like, okay, maybe it's just my imagination. And then she just didn't say anything. She just said, "Okay," hung up. But she's waiting in the closet, like not making a sound. And she thinks she still hears stuff, but it's not as loud. She's not quite sure. So she said that she heard all this movement, and then she heard my car pull in our driveway, and um then she heard us come in the house. So she gets up and goes to the window to make sure it's my car. And she sees me and the kids grabbing bags from the trunk and going in the house. So she came downstairs and she's like looking around because she thought she was going to see, total chaos. She said the noise that was coming from down here, it was like they were knocking down furniture, moving couches, moving, things around. So she came down to thinking she was gonna find that, and like absolutely nothing was out of place, nothing at all. Door was. She asked me was the door open or anything like that. I'm like, no, just used my key and I unlocked it. Why? Nothing was broken, nothing was out of place, and then she proceeded to tell me that story. So we just thought it was strange, but you can't exit my front door without. It was a really old Victorian house, and you needed a skeleton key to unlock it. And it was only one, and we never entered or exited through the front door because that key was like you can't lose it. So we just kept it. It belonged to the owner of the house, and I just kept it somewhere for that person because I didn't want to trust it you know, carrying it around with me. So we just never used that door. It didn't open, it didn't close. So it wasn't like somebody who was in there could have heard us come through the back and decided to exit through the front. It was completely impossible. So we were just like, oh wow, interesting story. That was crazy. So then fast forward, we move into the house we're currently in now. And then this is where all the fun starts for her. Um, So one day um, she said that she was like really sad about something. Um, she couldn't remember what it was when she was telling me. I mean, the next time she told me this story, but when she originally told me years ago, she told me everything. But again, when we were talking about it recently, she couldn't remember what it was that was made her so upset. But she was really, really upset, and she was like in her room crying, and she had the covers over her head. And at the time, my other daughter, her sister, was staying in her room with her, sleeping in her room with her, and I'll tell you more about that because that has to do with another story. So she didn't want to wake her up, and she was sort of crying and upset, and she pulled the covers over her head, and then she felt somebody touch her knee and like just rub her knee. You know how you would like console somebody, just like rub their leg like it's okay. And she thought, oh god, I woke up my sister, and so I pulled the cover back just to be like, oh no, I'm fine. And nobody was there, and so she was so super freaked out like that because she knew what she felt, and she was just on her side, and then that leg that was like up, somebody was just like touching it and rubbing it. So she was just like really quickly, not like a long drawn out thing, just like a really quickly but distinct feeling. So that was one thing. But back to, okay, so her sister now stays in the room with her because of this next experience. This was like the biggest one. So one day we were all downstairs, me and all the other children, and then my daughter, she was taking something to her room. Her room is on a second floor, and it's only two bedrooms on the second floor. It's the only thing on the second floor, and they're right across the hall from each other. So she grabbed like all her packages that she had been shopping. She grabbed all her bags, took them up to her room. Um, go in her room. She sat them on her bed, and then she turned around. Her door was open, and when her door is open, she can see straight through to the room across the hall, and she could basically see straight through the room. And so she said she just kind of looked, and she just stopped and was staring, and she didn't quite know or remember why. She just said, I felt like I was looking at something, but I didn't see anything at all. So she said at the moment she just caught herself standing and staring, and then at the exact moment her bathroom door, she has a bathroom in her room, her bathroom door, which is right in front of her, was closed, and it opened, and it opened wide, not like a draft will kind of swing it a little, but it just opened wide. And she said she just ran down the steps. She just ran past the door, down the steps, and was hysterical. That she was hysterical. So at that, she would never enter her room or sleep in there ever again since that day. About 4 years ago now, she's never ever slept in there a day by herself since that day. So my second oldest sister, my second oldest daughter, just moved in. She was the one who lived across the hall in that room. So she moved her bed and all her stuff into my oldest daughter's room, and from then on they shared a room because she never slept alone in that room again since then. And the only other experience she's had in, I'd say, the 7 years we've been here, besides the knee rubbing and the bathroom door opening, was this one other time where she has a light in her room that you can only turn on. A light switch doesn't turn it on. You can only turn it on. It's on the ceiling fan. It's by pulling the string, but the light switch doesn't work for it. So one day it was really, really like middle of the night, late at night, and she heard a bunch of voices that were coming closer outside, and where her window is on the side of our house, and there's no house next to us. So she heard the voices literally come up to right underneath her window on the side of the house, and so she knew there was people literally right outside our house, and there's no other houses next to us. It's only a house across the street from us. So she got really nervous that there were people outside and they were right under the window, so she didn't know if they were like attempting to break in, or if they were, what was going on, if it was just people wandering around coming from a bar or something, walking drunk. She said she could not make out words, but she just heard this thing talking. And so she was afraid to get up and make any noise or do anything. And she's like, and just then her light just came on, and then the voices and all of the noise outside her window just abruptly stopped. It didn't fade away as if anybody walked away. It didn't. It just abruptly stopped. And that was and the light came on, which is never done before then, and it's never done since then. So those were her experiences. So I was just glad to share a little bit of paranormal stories that I've heard through her. So just wondering what you guys all feel about paranormal, and what do you believe, and have you had any experiences yourself? And with that said, looks like our scarf is finished. So this is the Alpine scarf to match the hat here shown, and it was a fun project to do. So thank you so much for tuning in to this Crochet with Me tutorial and story time. See you next time.